"You don't look like military," the colonel said loudly, tapping his glass against the bar top. "Certainly not someone worth saluting." Laughter rippled around the dim bar, relaxed, careless, confident. The woman at the end of the bar didn't rise to the bait. She didn't defend herself, justify her presence, or prove anything. She took one slow sip of her drink, met his eyes with perfect calm, and answered with a single name. The music died mid-note. Conversation stopped like someone had cut the power. Even the colonel's smile vanished. The bar sat just outside the base perimeter, filled with the smell of leather and old whiskey. It was a place where rank usually loosened but never fully disappeared. The colonel enjoyed that structure. Even without his medals, his 23 years of service radiated from his posture. To him, the woman in the plain jacket and simple ponytail looked like a civilian, a contractor's assistant, or a guest who had wandered in where she didn't belong. "Did you get lost, sweetheart?" he'd asked earlier. She ignored him. That silence irritated him more than a retort would have. "We've got standards around here," he'd added louder. "This isn't a civilian establishment." The bartender, a retired staff sergeant, glanced between them, clearly uneasy. He'd seen this brand of arrogance before and it never ended well. The colonel leaned closer, invading her space. "So tell me," he smirked, "who do you even work for? What department sends people like you to places like this?" She paused, weighing the cost. Around them, younger officers were laughing, but the older veterans had gone quiet. Recognizing something in her stillness, they watched with different eyes. She turned her stool to face him, her gaze utterly unafraid. "You really want to know?" she asked evenly. "Sure," he laughed, dismissive. "Entertain us. I could use a good story." She didn't raise her voice. She said the name once, clearly with the weight of absolute certainty. It wasn't a rank or a title. It was a call sign. 3 syllables that cut through the room like a blade through silk. The effect was immediate. A glass slipped from someone's hand and shattered against the floor. A senior NCO at a far table stood instinctively, his hand twitching toward a salute before he caught himself. The colonel's smirk flickered and died. "That's not funny," he said, his voice thinning. "I didn't say it to be funny," she replied. "No one says that name," a man near the door muttered, his voice shaking. "She's not supposed to exist. That operation was buried." The colonel's face flushed, then went pale. His mind raced through classified briefings and legends spoken only in secure facilities, operations that officially never happened. "You expect me to believe that?" he asked, but the challenge was gone, replaced by a desperate hope that this was a prank. She reached into her jacket and slid a small, worn token across the bar. It wasn't an ID, it was a patch, faded, threadbare and blood-stained at the edges. The symbol was barely visible, but for those who knew what to look for, it was unmistakable. The colonel stared at it, his hand hovering but not daring to touch. Slowly he pushed his stool back, creating a perimeter of space. He finally understood who he had challenged. That name wasn't a boast, it was a piece of history most people weren't supposed to know. "Where did you hear that name?" he asked, his voice now carefully controlled. "I earned it," she said. The silence became physical. One by one, the veterans in the room rose to their feet. This wasn't protocol, it was a silent acknowledgement of a sacrifice they could only imagine. The bartender stood frozen, remembering the stories of the Black Corridor. A mission where an entire unit had been written off as dead until one operator stayed behind, held a hopeless position, and bought time that shouldn't have existed. The colonel looked at her differently now, seeing the scars that didn't show and the weight of 43 lives she had saved. He felt suddenly small. "I owe you an apology," he said, the words formal and genuine. "I was out of line." She inclined her head once, accepting the apology without gloating. Balance was restored. The colonel stepped back, and as she headed for the door, an older master sergeant spoke softly. "Ma'am, they said you saved 43 lives that day." She didn't confirm or deny it. She simply tucked the patch back into her pocket, a movement both gentle and practiced. "Good to see you're still standing, ma'am," an older veteran whispered as she passed. She smiled faintly, the first real expression of the night. "Some of us don't stop," she replied. "We just fade into the background." Outside, the night swallowed her. Inside, the lesson lingered. Not every warrior wears their rank on their sleeve, and some legends are dangerous when provoked. Respect isn't demanded, it's remembered.